Hi guys, I'd like to share with you 10 things I love about Skinamarink. Over the next 10 minutes I'll be hitting you with some facts and opinions relating to this unique horror experience. So spoiler warning up front. Skinamarink is an experimental horror movie written and directed by Kyle Edward Ball. The whole movie is presented through static shots at odd angles with extreme close-ups. The sound is minimal and the dialogue is sparse at best. The whole thing makes for a personal and rather claustrophobic experience. The story is set in 1995 and follows 4-year-old Kevin and his 6-year-old sister Kaylee. They appear to live in the family home with just their father. Later in the story the mother is mentioned, but Kaylee doesn't want to talk about her. She's assumed to have either left or passed away. One night something wakes Kevin up. He takes a wander around the house and falls down the stairs in what his sister seems to think was a sleepwalking accident. After a visit to the hospital, Kevin seems to have been very lucky. He hit his head, but no serious harm was done. He doesn't even need stitches. Sometime later, the brother and sister wake up to discover their father has gone. If this wasn't scary enough, other strange things are happening around the house. Windows and doors begin to disappear, and the house itself begins to morph. Rooms turn upside down, and hallways stretch off into the distance. Obviously freaked out, the children go downstairs to look around. No one is home. They try to use the phone, but it's disconnected. To get some comfort, they turn the TV on and watch cartoons, after which they decide to sleep in the living room because it feels safer. The kids start to see and hear unusual happenings in the home, such as disembodied voices and impossible things like chairs and toys appearing on the ceiling. Just like the windows and doors, the toilet disappears from the downstairs bathroom. Kevin is too scared to venture upstairs, so they set up buckets on the ground floor. The mysterious voice draws Kaylee upstairs. She goes up to find her father in the master bedroom. A tense scene plays out, in which he tells Kaylee to look under the bed before he disappears. He's then replaced by her mother on the other side of the room, who tells Kaylee that their parents love her and Kevin. She then tells Kaylee to close her eyes and promptly vanishes. Kaylee then hears creaks and noises from a dark closet. The disembodied voice of the mother then informs Kaylee to go back downstairs because someone's here. This is followed by the sound of breaking bones and an inhuman scream. Back downstairs, the kids move the couch to block the stairway. Kevin falls asleep and the voice calls to Kaylee once again. Kevin wakes up and Kaylee is gone. After a while of looking for her, he notices some of his toys are suspended on the wall. Alone and scared, he goes to the basement after hearing something. There he finds Kaylee sitting in the darkness, and in a horrible reveal we see her eyes and mouth are missing. When Kevin gets back to the living area, the voice calls to him once more, telling Kevin that it wants to play. Toys start to disappear, and a traumatised Kevin sits in the kitchen. The voice then persuades the infant to take a retractable safety knife and plunge it into his own eye. Kevin makes it to a phone to call 911 and speaks to a call handler about his injury. He tells the handler about the doors and windows disappearing, and the handler reassures Kevin that they will send adults to help. The handset then transforms into a child's toy phone, and the voice informs Kevin that not only did it do that, but it can do anything. It took away Kaylee's mouth because she didn't do as she was told and kept asking for her parents. It tells Kevin to go up to the bedroom. He obeys. He makes his way upstairs to find that the ceiling is now the floor. He then goes into the void that was the bedroom. A pile of toys is then shown in the hallway with the caption 572 days. The hallway then stretches off into the distance and blinks away. Then a dreadful sequence of Kevin being maimed on a loop. Blood is being spilled before disappearing and then happening again as he cries out for his mother. Later, Kevin points a flashlight at a TV and asks Kaylee if they can watch something happy. There's no response. She's either not there or not able to communicate. Both options are harrowing. Kevin then makes his way to and through an impossibly high door and confronts the face in the void. Kevin asks for the name of this being but gets no answer. It menacingly sits there just out of focus and the film ends. As of recording, the film has a 71% Tomato Meter rating and 44% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. It also comes in at 2.9 out of 5 on Letterboxd and 5 out of 10 on IMDb. A majority of critics are into it, but audiences are divided. I'll give you my score at the end of the video. Right then, on with the top 10. The rules are simple. If you learned something, give this video a thumbs up. If you learned nothing, let me know in the comments if you have some Skinamarink trivia I've missed. Number 10. First time director. This is the feature directorial debut for Kyle Edward Ball, and for me it's a very impressive first outing. I can't wait to see what he does next. Kyle ran a YouTube channel called Bite-Sized Nightmares, which featured short films, the inspiration for which were nightmares submitted to his comment section. Skinamarink is a development of a 30-minute movie called Heck, which featured on that channel. I would highly recommend checking out Heck for yourself. It may lack some of the polish evident in Skinamarink, but it is still a great short horror, which uses a particularly nightmarish concept that I'll discuss later in the list. Number 9. Everything in its right place. The mise-en-scène in this film is on point. The location and set dressing perfectly realise the world in which the movie takes place. From the look of the house, to the furniture, to the kids' toys, everything looks genuine. Skinamarink was shot in the director's childhood home, and in a stroke of good fortune, his parents had kept hold of his childhood toys. Having all of these elements in the movie makes the project a personal affair for the director and a realistic feeling one for the audience. There is nothing here that I find distracting or out of place. This leaves my mind to go along to the almost hypnotic state that the movie creates. Number 8. Leaked online. The film premiered July 25th, 2022 at the Fantasia International Film Festival in Montreal, Canada. It then moved on to other festivals, some of which offered an at-home viewing option. Due to a technical issue, one of these festival at-home screenings became subject to piracy. This of course meant that the film hit YouTube, Twitter and Reddit very quickly, and in turn led to an outpouring of hype and positivity towards the movie, with some declaring it as the scariest movie ever made, and other such extreme accolades. However, this sudden spike in publicity comes with a lot of upside and downside. People who would never give this movie a chance would now be intrigued to get out of their comfort zone and watch it. The inevitable backlash would begin eventually, but by then the message was out there and people were watching. The director himself expressed disappointment that the film was pirated, but was thankful for the positive reaction. Number 7. Leaving much to the imagination. This is not a dynamic movie. There is little to see on screen, but that is where the strength of the piece lies. All of the horrors and tension come from everything being just out of sight and earshot. There is fear in the unknown. Danger and mystery is hidden behind the dim, grainy images and the low-fidelity sound. If you can go with it, you will get a lot out of the experience. A good example of this is that for the first 35 minutes of the movie, much of what we see is shrouded in darkness, and most of the sound is subdued. And then out of nowhere, a cartoon begins to play on the TV. Bombastic music blares, and the room is illuminated. Due to the extra light, the picture looks sharper than before, and due to the toys on the floor, colour fills the screen. On my first watch, I remember having a genuine physical reaction to this moment. I began to relax, and I could feel just how tensed up I was due to the atmosphere of the initial half hour. Number 6. Low budget, high achievements. Skinamarink was produced with a $15,000 budget, which was mostly raised through crowdfunding. The movie was a massive box office success, with official figures putting it at $2.1 million. Due to the very limited budget, much of the equipment used was borrowed from the local Film and Video Art Society of Alberta. The scenes were lit with whatever they had to hand, which meant most of the shots were illuminated by either the CRT television or a single LED light. Something that keeps the horror genre alive and kicking is the fact that it can be incredibly profitable. Number 5. A small detail that makes me think things are much worse for Kevin. There are many theories as to what is happening in this film. One that I want to believe is that Kevin fell into a coma following his fall, and we're getting a slight taste of the hell that he's experiencing. I say this is the version I want to believe, however there is one thing that sends me into an emotional tailspin when I think too deeply about it, and that one thing is, what caused the fall? Or maybe, who caused the fall? His sister seems to think that this was a sleepwalking accident, but I don't think I can agree. Kevin gets up and sits in the hallway by a nightlight, staring off into the distance in silence, almost as if listening to something. Then he goes to the closet to grab something before sitting at the top of the stairs and talking to someone. He asks, "Are you hiding?" And then, after more silence, he counts to 3 and throws himself down the stairs. Now of course, this could be a bout of somnambulation, but I think there is a decision here to portray Kevin as deliberate, communicative, most importantly, awake. We see later in the film how the entity gives kids instructions and seems to enjoy tormenting them. This could be a sign that the whole thing is real, or perhaps, to save me from more torment, the whole thing start to finish is a nightmare. Number 4. A little goes a long way, not including the dialogue of the cartoon characters on TV. There's approximately only 500 words of dialogue throughout the entire film. In a film with little plot and almost no action on screen to speak of, the moments of dialogue take on even more importance. Every line matters. It leaves the viewer to listen up and piece together what's going on. There's a scene in which Kaylee is drawn upstairs and sees what appears to be her father sitting on the bed. He instructs her to look under the bed with an almost inaudible whisper. She quietly looks and sees nothing, but when she comes back up, her father has disappeared and her mother is on the other side of the bed. At this point, the volume and tension start to rise. As the mother speaks with a louder voice, we hear cracking bones, and then the scene ends with a screaming jump scare. The sparse dialogue and changes to volume is yet another way the movie can get right underneath your skin. Number 3. The absolute horror of what is being implied regarding the passage of time. The concept in both Heck and Skinamarink that chills me the most isn't the entity in the darkness, or the physical torture, or the impossible architecture of the home. It's the passage of time. Towards the end of Heck, we get updates on how many days have passed in the nightmare. 314 sleeps, 872 sleeps, right up to 18,694 sleeps, after which the protagonist tells their mother, "I think we're in hell." Now that works out to be around 52 years, and makes my skin crawl when I think about it. However, in Skinamarink, I think things could be even worse. In the upside down hallway full of toys, there's a caption that reads, 572 days, a year and a half. Following this, we see the hallway stretch out almost to infinity, and a scene implying a time loop of Kevin mutilating himself over and over, while the demonic presence in the house draws twisted enjoyment. All of this signifies to me that this will continue for a long time. Kevin is trapped in the nightmare of this reality forever. That is horror. Number 2. Josh Buchalter. The movie has a tribute to Josh at the beginning, which is tied to a tragic backstory. Josh was assistant director and passed away while working on the audio for the film. The only copies of this material was on Josh's personal workstation, and this left Kyle in a difficult situation. He was grieving for the loss of his friend and was well aware of how much pain Josh's family must have been in, but at the same time, Kyle didn't want the audio to be lost. Sure, the material could be re-recorded, but the point was to honour the work that Josh had done. After some time had passed, Kyle approached Josh's family and they were extremely cooperative. They allowed Kyle to access Josh's computer and the work continued. Without the understanding of the Buchalter family, the film would not have been the same. Number 1. The conversation and the controversy. Oh boy, did this film stir audiences up. Some herald it as the scariest film of all time, and others think it's a waste of time. There are some in the middle, but judging by the review scores, this heavily leans towards all or nothing territory. And that's a great thing. This movie opened up mainstream audiences to experimental cinema. Hopefully it will help to create a larger audience, not only for movies like this, but also analogue horrors on platforms like YouTube. Things like Alex Kister's The Mandela Catalogue or Somnium Dreamweaver. Interestingly enough, when I posted about covering this movie in my community section on YouTube, go check it out for daily content, one of my subscribers by the name of Mark D. Price Music shared some great insight that had been imparted to them by a musician. The paraphrased version goes like this: always divide your audience. You know it's worth doing if some love it and some hate it. I love the sentiment and think that applies not only to the content I make, but also to cinema like this. If Skinamarink just got a few people out of their comfort zone and gave them a new horror experience, then I'd say it's worth it. Personally, I love this film and think its themes make it one of the scariest films I've seen in some time. If you don't find the world that Skinamarink paints at all moving, that's cool, I suppose, but I hope in some small way I've managed to communicate its value and the contribution it has made to the world of dark cinema. So that's Skinamarink, an experimental affair that, despite getting a great deal of attention, wasn't intended to entertain a broad audience. I give Skinamarink 9 terrifying telephones out of 10. I'd love to hear your opinions and indeed criticisms of the movie, but if your discourse is basically, it's shit because I don't like it, then move on. Nobody has time for that kind of inane input. Come at this film with something constructive. Thanks for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, Please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you thought of Skinamarink. Check the recommendations for more dark content. Thanks and stay spooky.